Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Tech CEO and investor Fahim Saleh was murdered in an extremely grisly fashion when his body was dismembered and found in his Lower East Side condominium. Now, it is alleged that his 21-year-old assistant, Tyrese Haspel, was the one who murdered and dismembered Fahim Saleh. And when I take a critical examination of this very grisly slaying, I see yet another incident in America's ongoing man crisis. Now, what makes this incident very different from many of the other cases I talk about regarding the man crisis is that I don't see one beta male in the murderer. I also see a beta male in the victim, because your Fahim Saleh, as I see it, was a beta male because he was afraid of dealing with conflict, and sadly, because he did not want to deal with conflict, he wound up losing his life as a result. Now, your Fahim Saleh allegedly found his executive assistant, Tyrese Haspel, embezzling over $100,000 in cash. And after finding out about his assistant embezzling this money, your Fahim Saleh did not go to the police. And he didn't want to go to the police because he was in his feelings about your Tyrese Haspel. He had gained a lot of trust from Mr. Haspel, and he promoted him to the position of executive assistant over his international finances and personal matters. And because he had this emotional connection to this man, he didn't understand that this man needed to be held accountable as related to the standard of law. Because when an employee breaks the trust by embezzling your money, the only thing you can do with that employee is turn them over to law enforcement, because if they would commit the crime of embezzlement, then it's a possibility that they would wind up committing more crimes to cover up that embezzlement. And your Fahim Saleh, being a young man who did not really have good male life skills and male survival skills and good social skills, did not understand that sometimes you have to have conflict with people in order to hold them accountable, and you have to go out here and confront those people with law enforcement in order to make sure that justice is done, and in an effort to protect your personal safety and protect the safety of others. Unfortunately, what your Fahim Saleh did was he wanted to try to negotiate a deal with this Tyrese Haspel, not understanding that when you negotiate with someone who has already violated your trust, what this does is it puts that person on notice, and it fills them with fear. And one of the most dangerous individuals to deal with is a beta male filled with fear, and that's what your Tyrese Haspel was when he got caught by your Fahim Saleh. He wound up becoming one of these beta males filled with fear, and when a beta male is filled with fear, what they will do is go out here and participate in a spectrum of violent behaviors. And the reason why those beta males will participate in a spectrum of violent behaviors is because the beta male fears that their smooth world will wind up getting disrupted. And your Tyrese Haspel feared that his smooth world was going to wind up getting disrupted because Fahim Saleh was the one who was paying his salary, and he now had this leverage over your Tyrese Haspel in that at any given time, he could stop going along with this whole payment plan that he had negotiated, and he could go to the police at any time and report your Tyrese Haspel. And this fear of being sent to jail is the thing that led to your Tyrese Haspel going out of his way to murder his boss because he did not want to have this debt over him. Moreover, he did not want to have these criminal charges over him as leverage. So this is why he murdered his boss and then went on in this scheme to mutilate his boss's body and try to make it look like someone else had murdered him. Because in the beta male mind, they live in a world of rose-colored glasses, and in that world of rose-colored glasses, they believe they can go out here and participate in a scheme like the one that your Tyrese Haspel participated in when he murdered his boss, Fahim Saleh, and he thought he could get away with it even though there were numerous cameras in that whole condominium complex, and the fact that he had gone out here and purchased numerous items to commit this murder, like the saw that he purchased to mutilate his boss's body and dismember his boss's body, and many of the numerous cleaning items on the company account. So the beta male thought he would be able to get away with this crime by not physically being there as he thought he was. However, he didn't understand that there were cameras all about, and he didn't understand that he was leaving a paper trail of receipts as related to many of the items he purchased to cover up the murder. So many of these beta males, again, because they live inside of their own heads and they live in the idea of the rose-colored world, they will go out here and they will go out here like when they get caught doing something wrong, and then they will escalate their behavior and commit even more heinous acts, because the beta male, again, is an individual who participates in a spectrum of violent behaviors, and when their smooth world is practically challenged for being disrupted, that's when we find them being able to go out here and participate in extremely depraved and horrible acts. However, when I take a critical examination of this incident, I don't just see a very grisly crime. I see yet another incident in America's ongoing man crisis, and this incident shows me how extremely dangerous a beta male can be and what they're capable of when their smooth world is challenged. And I give great condolences to the family of Fahim Saleh, but I also look at Fahim Saleh's family and I said that they really should have taught their son some better male life skills, because as a CEO, he needed to understand that when you are out here and you have a rogue employee, there is no negotiating with a rogue employee. No, when there is a rogue employee, you can't be afraid to deal with conflict, and you cannot be afraid to hold someone accountable, because if this person is alleged to have done you wrong, you need to let law enforcement know about the wrong this individual has committed, and you need to let the police do an investigation to find out if this individual has committed a crime. You don't try to settle things on your own, because when you settle things on your own, what happens is you're still in the presence of this criminal individual, and because this individual sees you as someone who has leverage on them, what they're going to do is escalate their behavior so that they can eliminate you and eliminate the person who has the leverage on them. And when you are dealing with a beta male, he is capable of incredibly violent behaviors, like this Tyrese Haspel was alleged to have been capable of, not only murdering Fahim Saleh, but then mutilating and dismembering his corpse, and then doing this again to cover up his crimes, further escalating his crimes. And that's something beta males do, because beta males live in fear. They live in fear of conflict. They live in fear of accountability. They live in fear of responsibility. And because they live in fear of conflict, accountability, and responsibility, many beta males are capable of participating in extremely violent behaviors like the ones your Tyrese Haspel is alleged to have participated in. And if you want to learn more about the very violent and spectrum of violent behaviors that beta males participate in, like the ones I talked about in this video, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle formats. You can also find it on Smashwords and the iBookstore and Google Play. And if you want to learn how to be the type of boss that deals with conflict, you can pick up my book, Stop Simping in the Workplace, on Amazon.com so that you won't wind up in a situation, sadly, like Fahim Saleh. And if you want to learn more, if you want to help me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available for the first time in paperback. Stop Simping in the Workplace. Men, learn what you need to know in order to protect your job from workplace predators with Stop Simping in the Workplace. Available in paperback at online booksellers everywhere.